And we are live. Welcome to the Political Orphans. My name is Nico Lagan, and I am the in-house conservative. To my left, Rob Ambrose, our token lefty. And the goal of our show is very, very simple. We look at what's trending in the news, and we try to find common ground, common sense. We try to agree. And if we don't, you know what we do? We debate it, because we're trying to prove to you that a lefty and a righty can actually get along. And when they don't, they can simply speak like adults. Because you know why? Because common sense should not have a political affiliation. It's Wednesday, and like every Wednesday, we got, should we call him a friend of the show? He's a friend of the show.
Brother from another mother.
We got Jason.
You stop hating women, that could be friendlier.
Hey, bro! Yesterday, I like I like the comment yesterday. Good for you. Hey,
did you like the show?
Since we're on, I was going to ask you exactly that. What did you think of the show? It was the first time we spoke to a politician, man.
That was very, very good. And I like the People's Party. Everyone makes synonymous with the Conservative Party. And I think that's where he was trying to emphasize the distinction that that's not what that's all about. And I really appreciated that guy fighting for the people.
Can you understand why they don't want him to debate on the federal stage?
Well, you don't want anyone that can beat you in a debate, because at least in the United States, the two best ways to beat someone is to be balloted in all 50 states and let them participate in the debates. Jesse Ventura in 1999, who ran as an independent on $20 donations, polled at 14%, was allowed to debate and won, and this guy can win too.
Yeah.
And I don't think, like, if we look at it from an honest perspective, like, as much as I don't like to say this, I don't think that Maxime can win. Like, I don't think there's any chance in hell that he's going to win an election. But the reason I want him to debate is I want people to realize that the Conservative Party of Canada are not really conservative. They're just leftists with a little sense of economy, but they are on the political left. And instead of seeing Maxime Bernier like a far right, he's more like a libertarian. Like, he's not even right compared to Republicans. And I know, because I spent half my time in Canada, half my time in the US, I'm able to see the political difference. And it's insane to me that a guy that stood up for free speech, that stood up against lockdowns in Canada during COVID, that is seen as far right. All he said, he wanted people to be able to have an educated choice and have the choice to make their own decision, not be, I don't want to say forced or coerced, because the government did not coerce us. It was a choice, but highly encouraged to do so, or else you were losing your rights. So it's very interesting, but I like the fact that he's ballsy enough to answer questions, because his team asked us the subjects we wanted to cover, like, where do we want to go? So he has an idea. We literally rewrote our questions. We never sent him the questions. We just said, yeah, we'd like to talk about this, this, and this. Like, let's talk about Trump. Let's talk. I don't even think we said about Trump. I think we decided that the day of. But we literally rewrote our questions 30 minutes before the interview. So he did not have questions. He just said, you know what? Yeah, let's do it. Name me another politicians right now, Canadian or American, outside of a J.D. Vance or a Trump or an RFK, that have the balls to just, maybe Featherman. I'd love to have Featherman on. But name me politicians that are ready to just show up on a show that is uncensored, ready to answer hard questions.
I would go Republican Congressman Dan Crenshaw from Texas. I think he's ex-military. That's the guy. That's the guy.
Eye patch guy.
Ron Paul. Ron Paul probably would.
And Ron Paul would. Both of them.
I love Ron Paul, by the way.
The only Democrat that I think that would do it is no longer in office. Jamal Bowman. He's a good tap dancer. So anything you catch him by surprise, but he can tap dance. But he's never run away from a conversation, and I give him credit for that. But Listen, he didn't accept the AIPAC money, and what AIPAC did was they offered his opponent $10,000 less, and his opponent took the money, and AIPAC ran him out of office. I call him Jabal No Man because sometimes he's full of crap. So instead of Jabal Bowman, I call him Jabal No Man. But
I didn't know there were any politicians left or right.
Republican and one Democrat that would.
I was gonna say I didn't know there were any politicians that said no to AIPAC money. I thought that was just a given. That's just like that's part of your welcome package. Here's your passkey. Here's your AIPAC money.
You have to, and even if they offer you less money, here's the problem: whoever you're running against, that less money is gold to them. You know what I'm saying? Like $70,000 to that other guy's like $100,000. So you have to not only take AIPAC's money, but they get you for cheap because they don't want you. You don't want them helping the other guy. You know, and honestly,
but at the same time,
this isn't what the subject matter is today. But I think personally, they should be registered as a foreign agent. Now, whether you support
AIPAC,
it
I agree.
or you don't, we both know what the money's for.
Yep.
We vote you
100%.
in, you take care of Israel. Does everybody agree here on that one?
Yeah, yeah.
We're all nuts. Okay.
I didn't even think that was tinfoil hat territory. I thought we all. Yeah.
The only thing I would say though is you don't need to take the money in order to run because of social media. If you have somewhat of an intelligence and you know how, if I'm capable of building a platform of 200,000 followers on different platform with just me, I don't have a team. I don't have people.
Nico can do it, like Jesus Christ.
No, but can you imagine? My point: a bald-headed, racist
Frenchie
that hates women.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if
it worked out too? So
social media, it should be the great equalizer, though, right? Would you say that's come to pass?
Nico,
if you know how, you have to know how. And this is one of the problems. Like,
look what Trump did. He went on Joe Rogan for free. No money, right?
Yeah. But to go on Joe Rogan, you need. Hold on.
They go on Oprah, the Call Your Daddy podcast, and everyone says he got elected because of Elon Musk, but Elon Musk really had to just sit back and show his autistic face. And Trump, I think Trump still would have won. He did it. There was close. There's a new young demographic of people, of Republicans and people that exodus from the Democratic Party who are independent, who are not happy Trump won, but are elated, did not want Kamala Harris to win, that control the internet.
I would go further and say, I don't think the campaign did a whole lot one way or the other. I bet you if you had done the elections 3-4 months previous, you'd have almost the exact same results. And maybe that's
it would have been worse.
He got shot. Trump would have won by a lot because it would have an assassination attempt, and that man jumped up and said,
"That was badass, man. I don't care what you think about it. Every man in the world, there wasn't a dry pair of panties. I don't care what they say." And then,
Nico was looking at the TV like this. He went.
Actually, no. I got rid of my boner first.
Yeah. I've got the weirdest boner right now.
But you know, the best video about this, I think, went to Mark Zuckerberg. He was on an interview on a very left-leaning media, and he was talking about it, and he almost had a tear just saying, "I don't care what you say, but this is the most American thing I've ever seen." A guy with a bloody ear comes back up and he said, fight. And it's true, as a Canadian, like I'm just talking about it, I'm like, man, that was like one of the greatest moments in American history.
Kind of
but at the same time, you know, if you, like I was saying, if you understand how social media works and you have a good message, you understand how to resonate with the people that are out there, you don't need to accept money. Like, look at the guys yesterday, like the PPC, the People's Party of Canada. They don't have a big budget. I've been interacting with their internal team, and I know that they're not a lot of people. But do you imagine if those guys actually had people showing their candidates how to run social media, how to create content, how to find interviews, how to really, even if you have to go phone by phone, and I'll fucking show you how to edit stuff on your phone. But imagine if they understood the power of content creation, how they would change their party's image like overnight. but yet you don't see that. Like this is one of the forces
Nico's
that
applying for a
Democrats
job
had. No, I'm just saying. It's just, to me, it just makes sense. It
I agree.
just makes sense because no
You-
matter what you do today, social media is the best marketing platform. But
Oh,
if
if
you look
you're a
at
politician, you need to have a top team. Absolutely.
But if you look at the liberals in Canada, if you look at the Democrats, they're extremely good on social media. And it is something that the right has had problems, both in Canada and the US. They've had a lot of problem figuring out, because if you look at the liberals, are normally younger people are going to vote for them.
Mhm.
Older people are going to vote for the conservatives, and younger people tend to spend more time on social media, and they will hire younger people. So they have massive social media teams that actually understand how social media works. Like you look at a Justin Trudeau in Canada, if you look at a Jagmeet Singh in Canada, same thing. Those guys have harnessed the power of social media. They can't put two sentences together that make sense yet, because you can edit and make it sound good on a reel. They've gathered massive
Good
audiences,
point.
but you get a guy like Pierre Poilievre, and as much as I dislike the guy, he's getting power over social media. He has like 1.4 million followers on X as the opposition. He's not even prime minister, which is pretty fucking impressive if you ask me. But his content is on point. As much as I agree with and agree or disagree with his content, if you look at the quality of the content, not the message, but the quality, he's bang on. You can tell that he's understood that you need to understand social media. And this ties up into the show perfectly today, because the Democrats understood that. And the video we're going to show about JD Vance, which started this whole conversation between Rob and I of wanting to talk about free speech and censorship. There's a good reason why Democrats were censoring people, because they understand the power of social media. And now we're going to talk about what's going on in the UK, what's going on in Germany, what's going on in Australia, what's going on in the US, what's going on in Canada. And it all has to do with social media. Every government on the planet that is trying to control the narrative understands the power. Can we agree on this at least? Can we start and agree on this?
I will say that never in the history of man have the people doing the censoring ever been the good guys, and right now it's been the government.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. That's why I
And
thought.
For whoever's watching this, when I do this, I'm not saying blah 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 blah. I'm saying that I'm clapping. No, but you can't do that in a microphone. It's so annoying on the ears. So I'm doing this, but for the people watching, I'm not saying. I'm actually clapping, because look, just as a test. See how annoying that is in your ears? So if I do it with one hand, I'm basically saying Jason's full of shit. If I'm doing with both hands, I'm actually clapping for whoever's talking.
That's a good point, though. I mean, you can't name one. I heard that quote a few months ago, and I actually tried to think about it, and you literally cannot name one time when censoring anybody was the good guys. Even if at the time maybe they appeared the good guys, history has always proven it incorrect.
And I want to ask you guys, before we play the video, the guys that are watching us right now, the question of the day is: free speech absolute?
That's actually an interesting question.
Yeah.
Are we going to discuss that here before we get to the video?
Who wants to go first?
Free speech?
I mean, Nico, me and you have discussed this. I mean, the reason I wanted to talk about this topic today was because, especially on the left, it's really getting out of hand. And I am a strong supporter of free speech. I think it's an absolute core value of a healthy democracy and society. But I do not think it is absolute. I mean, there are examples that the classic one is the shouting fire in a crowded theater, right?
Let's not go there yet. Let's watch the video.
Yes. What we're going to talk about today. Yes. Okay. I got you.
Bro, we're going along. There's no doubt about it. Plus, Jason's here. It's impossible to stay under an hour if Jason's here. Jason's here. So we know we're going to go long. And we're talking about probably my favorites.
We're like The View.
Yeah. Oh, actually, we're about as masculine as The View. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's play the first video.
Why do you hate George?
Unfortunately, when I look at Europe today, it's sometimes not so clear what happened to some of the Cold War's winners. I look to Brussels, where EU commissars warn citizens that they intend to shut down social media during times of civil unrest the moment they spot what they've judged to be, quote, hateful content. Or to this very country, where police have carried out raids against citizens suspected of posting anti-feminist comments online as part of, quote, combating misogyny on the internet, a day of action. I look to Sweden, where 2 weeks ago the government convicted a Christian activist for participating in Koran burnings that resulted in his friend's murder. And as the judge in his case chillingly noted, Sweden's laws to supposedly protect free expression do not, in fact, grant, and I'm quoting, a free pass to do or say anything without risking offending the group that holds that belief. And perhaps most concerningly, I look to our very dear friends, the United Kingdom, where the backslide away from conscience rights has placed the basic liberties of religious Britons in particular in the crosshairs. A little over 2 years ago, the British government charged Adam Smith Connor, a 51-year-old physiotherapist and an Army veteran, with the heinous crime of standing 50 meters from an abortion clinic and silently praying for 3 minutes. Not obstructing anyone, not interacting with anyone, just silently praying on his own. And after British law enforcement spotted him and demanded to know what he was praying for, Adam replied simply, it was on behalf of the unborn son he and his former girlfriend had aborted years before. Now, the officers were not moved. Adam was found guilty of breaking the government's new buffer zones law, which criminalizes silent prayer and other actions that could influence a person's decision within 200 meters of an abortion facility. He was sentenced to pay thousands of pounds in legal costs to the prosecution. Now, I wish I could say that this was a fluke, a one-off crazy example of a badly written law being enacted against a single person. But no, this last October, just a few months ago, the Scottish government began distributing letters to citizens whose houses lay within so-called safe access zones, warning them that even private prayer within their own homes may amount to breaking the law. Naturally, the government urged readers to report any fellow citizens suspected guilty of thought crime. In Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in retreat.
Opinions.
This caused a stir in Europe, this speech the other day. They absolutely...
It was made in Munich, by the way.
Yeah.
J.D. Vance was in Munich addressing basically the European nations.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how ballsy he was. I wonder how tight his pants felt because he called them all out by country. You did this, you did this. He almost like he should have dropped the mic and finished with like a and just walk out. Like, what do you think? Like, what do you think about as lefties? Because, like I said before, I create content around this. Every single video I'm going to show, we're going to show you today, I have created content around this already, about those specific videos already. So I talk about this. No, but I want you guys as lefties, because I think the problem when it comes to free speech and censorship, it comes from the left.
Oh, absolutely.
Like Rob and I were talking about before we started the podcast. I dare anybody listening to this that considers themselves a lefty, in the past 20 years, have you really been, you know what, let's not even go that far. 5 years. In the past 5 years, have you really been censored? Can you think of one time as a lefty that you got censored? Because I can give you hundreds of times as a conservative, I've been censored, and I'm still censored right now as we speak on social media, even though the platforms told us that they weren't censoring us anymore. But I can actually show you the algorithm and what they sent me to say that I was still censored.
I think I'd like to go first, because I think I could start the conversation proper in the sense that we need to establish definitions first, right? First, I mean, Nico already came out of the block the wrong way talking about lefties. When he says lefties, he means the Democratic National Convention establishment, all right? Because the censoring that's been happening to Republicans is the ultimate head fake, and who the people who are really being censored was the 30% of people who exited from the Democratic Party, who were socialist or what might you say, Marxist or communist, who share lefty values but do not trust the Democratic establishment, right? The wolf and the fox. A few episodes ago, remember we were talking about the wolf and the fox. Mm-hmm. So we need to establish what if we're saying lefty in terms of the Democratic Party, and we agree on that definition, we'll move forward. Second, let's move
Lefty
forward.
is just I use lefty. Sorry to cut you off, but I use lefty because we're talking to both Canadians and Americans,
Right.
and even if it's overseas. So I'm just saying
No, I get it.
lefties as the left. I don't want to say yes. In the U.S., it's more democratic. It's
No,
more
I'm
Democrats.
just trying to give
In Canada, it's liberal. Yeah,
I'm just trying to give
but we
respect.
agree.
I'm just trying to give respect to a dying party that's doing twice the work and only winding up with half the votes. Okay, that's
That's fine.
The Green Party and party the party that was kind of on your side with anti-war, the party that was on your side in terms of the pandemic. All of these people are veered from the establishment but didn't have the money to combat them, and definitely big tech was not on their side. Second, let's establish what free speech is. As an American, if we're speaking of free speech in terms of the First Amendment, right? The First Amendment means your free speech is protected from government prosecution and not other free speech, right? There's a lot of things that people want to say to Nico's face. Nico, fuck you. Why do you hate women? They're not going to say that in the same room with him because as a flesh and blood man, the free speech is a double-edged sword. And with men, there are consequences to how you talk to each other, right? So one, if we're talking left Democratic establishment, boom, we're moving on. We got that establishment. Two, if we're talking on First Amendment free speech in terms of being protected against government prosecution, I think that's where you guys were going with this, because Germany, it's not a big corporations or big ag or a big pharma coming after them. It's the government. Now, whether the government's weaponized by these people behind closed doors like the United States, I think I just want to bounce the floor back to you. Just wanted to get the definitions out of the way.
Yeah, no, I mean,
hold on. I'll just add to this because I pulled it up as you were speaking. But free speech in the U.S. is protected by the First Amendment. Obviously, the First Amendment also protects freedom of religion, the press, peaceful assembly, and petitioning the government. So basically,
but not against government persecution. It doesn't. It doesn't protect you from freedom of reach. America is worse because they can. Sorry, Nico. They can block. They can. How can you say? Mute you, meaning you think your message is getting out there, but it's not. Yep. So they're circumventing your freedom of reach, and that's what makes Elon Musk heroic. Everybody's like, oh, you can't talk about him. He doesn't care about free speech. No, Elon Musk did his part. He got the government out of your ass on Twitter, which is what I thought his intention was. Because before Twitter, and I don't want to go too far, but before Twitter, that's exactly what the White House and the FBI was doing.
Yeah, and like Nico, you had mentioned before the show, you talked about Zuckerberg. Recently on Rogan, I think he is talking about the Biden administration applying a lot of pressure to censor certain topics, specifically anti-vax discussions, or not even anti-vax, just vax concerns. Anyone talking about anything that wasn't, yay vax, pro-vax was considered anti-vax, and I think that's absolutely wrong. That needs to stop. But to your point, Jason, I think you're right.
Hold on, Rob.
We're on YouTube.
For YouTube purposes,
anti-vaxxer.
For YouTube purposes, this is entertainment. This is only our opinions,
and they're safe and effective.
Exactly.
If you haven't had your 10th jab, screw you.
Yeah, they are 1,000,000% effective, of course.
But
everyone knows that. Sure. That goes without saying.
Assuming we're up to 10. I don't know. We're up to 10.
We have to make sure that YouTube understands. That's it.
Good
Rob, continue.
It's funny. I'm not actually super familiar with YouTube as you guys are. So.
Did you see how Jason and I are like,
both you guys like.
Well, we shut that shit down quick.
You got shut down twice, bro.
I'm so sorry, Robbie.
Yeah, no, all good. But yeah, I think some people get caught up in what free speech is and what it isn't. A private company can do whatever it wants. They can platform or not platform whatever they want. I think it's probably bad business to get involved in censorship, but. Yes, exactly like you said, Jason. What we're really talking about and what I want to talk about today, and we've got a lot of examples that we're going to discuss later, is actual government prosecution of speech. I think there's a lot of people here in North America who are not really aware of what is going on in Europe and specifically Germany, the UK. People are being prosecuted and jailed for what amounts to I don't even want to say mean tweets, because I think that's exaggerating. They're just tweets that are unapproved, tweets that go against the narrative. And that is extremely scary. And, in the new interconnected world, I really don't think, I think people think, oh, well, that's Europe, we're here. I don't really think you can think like that. I think you have to think in terms of the West. If something originates in a country in the West and picks up steam there, it will, if it has momentum, eventually migrate to the rest of Western civilization, or the global West, if you will. So I think that's why it's important for us to talk about. But that is what we're going to be focused on primarily, is actual government prosecutorial action against speech.
Which, highlighting Germany, highlighting the UK, it's been, I mean, you guys, I'd like to just sit back and let you guys, because you guys came with great material, and I brought myself up to speed the last couple of days. It's wild what the police are coming to your door for.
It is insane. And that's basically what we've got a bunch of clips lined up we're going to talk about. But people, and this isn't even just fines, which would be bad enough. People are actually doing jail time, like real jail time, 6 months, a year. Like the Vance said in the clip. I mean, I'm an atheist, and yet I absolutely would demand that man has the right to fucking silently pray outside of an abortion clinic. How can you take that right away? How can you jail a man for that? In his head, like, that's what silently means. He wasn't out there screaming at women. He was literally standing there silently.
But
I don't know why.
But for the people listening to this, if you think that this is only happening in the US, it's not happening in the US, or it's not happening in Canada, let me show you what's going on in the UK. Then we're going to kick it back to what's actually happening in the US, what's actually happening in Canada, because what's going on in the UK has been happening right here in the US. It's just that mainstream media does not talk about it. That's the difference. You need to do your own research. But until we get there, just do some research on what we call the FACE Act in the US. FACE, FACE Act. We'll get back to it after those videos, but
just before you play that video, Nico, I think that's a good point. Almost every country in the West has an act or a law that is being introduced, and it's usually mostly only in the last couple of years, and it's almost always got some version of a name like anti-hate or hate crime speech. And who could be against that, right? Because it sounds like isn't there saying a law for the term of how laws are almost always named for the thing that they do the opposite, or like whatever the name of a law is, it actually does the exact opposite. Examples might be the Affordable Care Act, right? You may agree that people should be given broad access to healthcare, which I do, but to call it affordable healthcare is a little bit of a misnomer. And there's lots of examples how
the Federal Reserve in the US, doesn't that sound governmental? Yeah. Does not belong to the government. They know what they're doing. Let's all agree that marketers out there
are absolutely
good, and they know how to get in our head and that sounds governmental. They must be trustworthy.
And my big point is just to lefties, when you hear hate crime speech laws or a law that has a name like against hate law, that might sound nice, but really look into what is in the bill. Do not just accept this at face value, because it's pretty scary what they're doing.
So let's start with a video continue with a video that JD Vance didn't speak about, but it proves a point. Like this, if this does not scare you, if this video does not fucking scare you, I don't know what will. Listen to this one. This is coming out of the UK. This is a judge sentencing somebody for a social media post. This is not a joke. This is not satire. This is actually true. I know he looks like a retard with his fluffy white wig on, but in the UK, it is like that. You know what? I would have posted as he was sentencing me to make fun of him, to make sure I never get out of the police. Yeah, I never get out of jail, but listen to this.
To say that you did not want your money going to immigrants who, quote, rape our kids and get priority, end quote. This offence is so serious that an immediate custodial sentence is unavoidable. Would you stand, please? The sentence that I pass has been reduced by 1/3 to reflect your guilty plea. The sentence is one of 20 months imprisonment.
Okay, hold on. Before we go into this, I just want to replay. Now that you understood the 20-month sentence, listen to what he said. And hope good for us. There's captions because we can't understand what the fuck he's saying. But listen to this again. Read the captions if you have.
Say that you did not want your money going to immigrants who, quote, rape our kids and get priority.
Basically, what he's saying,
Who the fuck
he,
does?
he does not want money to go to rapist immigrants. That's basically what he's saying.
He didn't
somebody
even
disagree with
say he doesn't want our money going to immigrants, which should still be protected speech. He said he doesn't want our money to go to the immigrants that rape children. And there is, if you're familiar with the grooming rape gangs in the UK, the scandal that's erupted, there is a lot of them. There is a lot of people from certain cultures that are coming over here. It's very clannish, and they're meeting up. It's almost always cousins, brothers, brothers-in-law, and it's actually grooming gangs. I do not want my money going to immigrants who come here and rape children. I did not think that was a controversial opinion, and I absolutely do not think you should spend 20 months in jail for that. That is absolutely fucking insane.
Jason?
I think when Trump a few years ago said America's not or Mexico's not sending their best, remember, he's like, they rape or whatever, and everyone made this straw person argument and saying he's calling all Mexicans rapists. I think where the laws in place actually work if the people actually do their freaking job. Like, if you're an illegal alien in the United States, you get arrested, you're deported because they already know you don't belong here. Right. And this is something the Democratic Party should know more than anybody, because the biggest deporters in the history of our country, besides George Bush, were Barack Obama and Joe Biden, who, by the way, Joe Biden did in a 4-year period almost what Bush and Obama did in 8. So I don't know what the hell we're talking about. I think we're talking about it's not our problem until it hits our front lawn, right? Like the sanctuary cities of the United States, Massachusetts, New York, are like, hell, everybody has a right to come over the border. But when Texas Governor Greg Abbott pulled the biggest gangster move in the history of politics and put them all on a bus and bussed them to Martha's Vineyard, one of the richest neighborhoods in the United States of America, these people saw all these brown people and went, whoa, they can't stay here. We don't have the room, And I think the reason why I'm bringing that up is because when someone brings it to your front lawn, then it's an issue. Then we can have that conversation. And I feel like I'm not answering the question, but I think the more people that are affected by it directly, or the more people that communicate with people that are affected by it directly, the more we can have an honest, candid conversation about that. In the United States, in my opinion, you break the law, you go to jail. You break the law, you're an illegal alien. We shouldn't even pay for your jail. Let somebody else pay for your jail. And whatever country that allowed that guy to get away, they better take him, or they're going to deal with some Trump stuff. Which, by the way, as a guy who did not vote for Trump, I'm like, yes, I'm gonna be like this, just like Nico right now. We'll be clapping. So that's my opinion. I do believe in asylum. I do believe that some people come here illegally, but necessarily, because the half of the reason people are migrating to the United States is because we're defoliating and arranging military coups and overthrowing their leaders. And countries like Honduras and Haiti and Guatemala are being taken over by drug lords, making these people retreat north, which is Mexico and at some point the United States of America.
Yeah,
hold on. I wanted to show this, and this is probably something that people are not aware of. And, at the beginning, I always like those articles because they're debunking the maps of no-go zones in London. Yet there's no-go zones in London, in France. There's probably some in every single country where there's big Islamic population that gather together. But it always starts with this right of center political commentators. But you can find these everywhere. You can find content from all spectrum of political, left, right, and center. They talk about this. This is London. There's places in red you cannot go as a white guy. If you're not Islamic, you can't go there. And this article's from 2008. So we're talking like 7 years ago. This is not new. This has been going on and on and on. And those are places that, there's places in the UK and in France that police officers do not go in. They're like, if something happens in those areas, you're pretty much fucked, because they don't have the power anymore. They're scared for their lives to go in there. So to go back to what the guy was saying, It's
Yeah,
just to
like
put it into perspective that what the guy was talking about, he's referencing those places. Like, I don't know if you noticed, but hold on, just before, like, look at this. This is insane. This is a London no-go zone where acid threat is at its worst. Acid threat. Did you guys hear about that? It's been going on for years.
that's when you throw it in a woman's
People,
face because
they will
she
do that
leaves
to a
you,
Muslim.
or yeah.
Whatever. There's no reason. As much as I hate women, there's no reason to ever throw acid in their faces, right? And hopefully, you guys
He's
understand.
obviously joking.
You guys, I'm joking. It's just those two fucking lefties
That's the running
always say
gag.
that I hate women.
That's
Yeah,
the
they
running
always
joke
say I
on
hate
the
women.
show. Mhm.
But how insane is that? That not only do we have no-go zones, but there's places identified as you got to be careful there because there's a lot of attacks with acid.
It's
Like
insane.
that's messed up. Like to me, having a guy that's being sentenced to 20 months in jail for this is insane. They should see my social media feed on a daily basis. I say way worse than he does every single fucking day of my life. Like this is
Yeah.
insane.
Well, I mean, even if you wanted to make the case that he should be jailed if he said all immigrants are raping children, I don't agree with that. But like maybe, but like he isn't even saying that. He's saying of the immigrants that rape children, I don't want my money to pay for them. How the fuck is that controversial? How the fuck are you going to jail for that? That's a serious concern. You need to be able to say offensive things. If you have free speech, but you can only say things that government approves, government approved narratives, then you actually don't have free speech at all. You have to, like, free speech is the freedom to say unpopular opinions, and even, God forbid, offensive ones.
Yeah, look, free speech is not there to protect
Your feelings.
popular speech. No, because popular speech doesn't need protection.
Doesn't need protecting. Exactly.
Like he said that it's specifically there. Look, in this country, like Candace Owens might disagree with me, but we have a Nazi problem. We protect the free speech of Nazis. We let Nazis protest all the time. The ALCU and the NAACP, which are anti-Nazi organizations, went to court, went to Supreme Court and argued for their right to protest because free speech is not popular speech. I have my own personal grudge that like everybody can say whatever they want, but it seems like brown people are the only ones being like canceled on social media or arrested for it, right? Like Kanye got what he deserved because he's mentally disturbed, but we have politicians saying that Palestine should be turned into a parking lot. If that's not hate speech, and mind you, he's a person that works in government, and his account's still up. So it's this very, very weird thing. In fact, I want to show you guys a picture. Someone showed me on Facebook. I got a guy that plays volleyball in Santa Cruz, and there's like this building, and this is so weird. This is camera 2. Look at this thing on top of the building. What does that look like?
Swastika.
This is on top of the building where this guy plays in front of all the time.
Yeah, but I don't think that's what it is.
California, and it's just sitting there. Now, symbols don't offend me. In fact, not as a kid from Brooklyn, New York, and who's both black and white, right? Who never met his father. There's not a lot of things that you're gonna say to me that's gonna make me a snowflake, but I would like to see some consistency instead of going after.
I think you hit the nail on the head, Jason. And I think the only way to achieve that consistency is just free speech across the board. Once you start picking winners and losers and saying, this is okay, but that isn't, that you're just going to breed resentment and social division. And so the only and obvious solution is just free speech across the board.
I got a question for you. Yeah. Fascists, people that are fascists, shouldn't they like free speech because they want to know who their enemies are?
Well, that's exactly Nico,
this is what I was talking about yesterday.
Use all of that money and energy to spy on them and follow them around.
That's right.
And get the other people that you can commit fascist acts against.
So there's two things. First, this is why symbolism at the end of the day is bullshit, because the Nazis stole a Buddhist swastika that had been used for 2,500 years prior to the Nazis. They literally, like here, you see exactly what they did. Because I've seen Buddha statue with the sign either in the forehead or on the chest like this, but it is literally 2,553 years old. and the Nazis used it 80 years ago, and somehow it became hate. But it's
So
not
what?
like
I
so
mean,
shit.
you
But this is my
change the
point. But
definition of woke, right? I mean,
no,
definitions get changed all the time,
but
right?
but the
Did we
point I'm
not change
trying
the
to
definition
make,
of woke?
but we need to make one thing clear: free speech only applies to government, right? Under the First Amendment, free
Yeah.
speech is, well, sorry, free speech as defined under the First Amendment only applies to government. That doesn't mean that any private companies have to can or cannot censor you. That has nothing to do with them, right? And this is why social media is kind of a weird place, because if you follow what they've been doing over the past few years, they jump ship depending on who is suing them. When they get sued, they go to court. They either get accused to censor people because they get accused either, oh, you censored me because you didn't like my opinion. So that's always the premise, right? And they always defend two ways. Oh, well, you know what? We are a private entity, just like newspaper, and we're responsible for what is being posted. So those people posting on our platforms are like our editors. They're like the people that actually have a column on our newspaper, so we're responsible for what they say. When they get accused of posting something that they don't agree with that was offensive, they're like, oh yeah, but we're like we're like the public place, so we don't regulate. So they get to jump to whatever plot, like they get to flip-flop either side depending on what they're being accused of. So let's understand that social media, I don't necessarily have a problem with them having the power to censor. Just be honest about it.
Mhm.
Don't lie to me for years and say that it's not happening, because at the end of the day, they're a private entity, and I don't think that government should have any say, especially not on that, about what they can or cannot do.
Well,
But
Elon
at the
got rid of
same,
that problem, didn't he? Like the
yeah, but
problem.
hold on.
No, but the problem
But
we
hold
had
on.
was the government telling social media,
No,
private companies, like
it,
if Zuckerberg
but
makes his own
hold on,
distinction,
hold
he
on,
gets to do what he
hold
wants,
on,
but
hold
not if
on.
it's being
But
end
hold
around
on.
the First Amendment by the government.
No, but hold on. All I'm saying, I'm trying to differentiate
Sorry.
what's actually happening here, because we need to make sure we understand free speech in the way that is applied in government, like under the First Amendment, is government. And also need to mention that free speech doesn't cover consequences. As you were saying earlier, if you come up to my face and you call me names, that's your right. You have a free speech. That doesn't mean I'm not going to punch you in the nose, though.
Catch a three
Like
piece
you
in
need,
a photo.
but that's my point, right? We need to make sure that we differentiate what free speech is. Free speech does not mean that there's no consequences for your action. It means that your speech is not suppressed. You have the right to say something. And to go back to what you were saying earlier, we always use, the hate. We always hide those policies or those ideologies behind hate, saying that hate speech is wrong. Anything that hurts my feeling can be considered hate speech, like it is in Canada. But let's agree on something here, and that's what Rob and I talked offline of yesterday. One thing, the reason I am an absolutist when it comes to free speech, and not just to government, but for regular people, is not because I don't believe in consequences. On the contrary, I believe in consequences. But I want to see the next Hitler rise. I want the next Hitler, the next racist person that plans to exterminate a group of people, to feel so good and free about sharing his opinion that he's going to do it everywhere that I can find him, that I can actually get exposed to his opinion. Because the worst thing that you can do is to suppress speech in a way that somebody develops an audience underground. You do not know what's going on, and one day they appear out of nowhere with followers up the wazoo, and you're just like, what the fuck happened? Where did that guy come from? So that's why I don't believe in hate speech. Hate speech is bullshit. I'm not responsible for your fucking feelings. As much as I don't do it on purpose to hurt people's feelings, at the end of the day, not my responsibility. Check the mirror. But I want to see the next Hitler rise. I want to see him. I want to be able to see him from the get-go.
You mean you want to be able to see him coming?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that I just need to look. I just need to look in the mirror, right?
Yeah.
How many things that have happened we didn't see coming because of censorship?
Yeah, you're right.
And exactly. And we're like, wow, that guy came out of nowhere. No. That guy's been saying the same shit for 10 years. It's just that he did it underground with censorship, forced them underground, and
Eventually,
we weren't aware.
networks are going to form where people are able to get these ideas out there. That's just the nature of information. It wants to be free.
Yep.
It will find a way. You know, it's like Jurassic Park. Nature will find a way.
Rob, we also value hate speech as free speeches because we don't trust the entities that determine what is hate speech.
Exactly.
Who gets to determine
yes.
what's hate speech? Who gets to determine what's medical misinformation? Who gets to determine protocol and what you're supposed to eat and all that stuff? Most of the time, it's unelected officials who are being supported by the government, who are the people that are not supposed to be interfering with your First Amendment rights.
You're right. The reason why, and that's why I said at the beginning, like even if a bill or law says, you know, the anti-hate speech bill, which might sound very nice and positive, you need to be very worried about that bill.
According to who, right?
Yeah,
according to who? Yeah,
exactly. Like you need to be very worried about it, because at the end of the day, people who agree with it, they think that, oh, this is fine, because they assume that they're going to agree with the definition of hate speech. And that is not always going to be the case. You are going to be, a lot of times there's, you know, and because governments change, you know, the Overton window shifts, things evolve, and you will almost certainly find yourself on the wrong end of that law at some point. And it's not going to look so friendly at that point.
Rob, before we leave America, I also want to finish with the United States by saying the fired in a movie theater. I want to refer you to the Supreme Court case in 1915 or 1917, which addressed the whole fired in a theater thing, and it had nothing to do with that. It had to do with communists passing out leaflets to not serve in the war against the Germans. They were trying to deter. So it was an anti-war movement where the person was in a movie theater, in front of a movie theater, passing out leaflets saying why you should not go fight against these people. It's not your war, it's not your business. So, and that got turned into you can't yell fire in a movie theater. That's against the law. You've never, in fact, you're probably not going to find a lot of cases cited where someone got arrested and served jail time for saying fire in a movie theater.
So, because that was cited in a case, was it not? But was it just a made-up example?
It was, and it originated from a Supreme Court case, and I can't remember the year, but Wikipedia is not. Wikipedia and Google is kind of our enemy on some of these things. We want to know the truth, but
especially they're
not going to.
Wikipedia is great for the 90% of the information out there that's not controversial.
Wrong.
You know what I mean?
Wrong.
But the 10%,
wrong.
The 10% that were, well, if you want to read about the history of the Roman Empire, it's probably going to be pretty good for you.
Nope.
But
denied. Wrong. I literally made 2.5 hours of research after reading an article this morning, and the History Channel has been blocked from being cited on Wikipedia. So what you're saying, wrong. I have a bunch of pictures. I did not trust the article. I went one by one, see who they blocked. I have a full list that I built this morning that we will talk about today, but don't quote Wikipedia. Wikipedia, as per 2 weeks ago, can no longer be used as a source of material because they block anything they consider right. And I'm telling you, I went line by line.
The information out there, like 9% of the entire information of the world, is not right or left. It's just information, and there's no reason to block that.
No,
it is useful.
No, but that is wrong because they judge it on the outlet that produced it, not on the quality of the actual article itself.
But you got to know how to use it.
If you want to study about
but they have footnotes.
The old empire, old Egyptian empire from 5,000 years ago or whatever, it's going to be a pretty good source.
It's useful.
No, it's not. History Channel, which is one of the biggest channel on TV that talks about history, it's in the fucking title, has been rejected as a source for Wikipedia.
No, but Wikipedia has footnotes, right? So if they quote like Jimmy Dore is a conspiracy theorist, and the footnotes,
they won't allow you anymore. The
footnote. If the footnote says Jimmy Dore is a conspiracy theorist, and the footnote number 7, you scroll down and go to number 7, and the source says CNN, then Wikipedia is using it. But now you get to determine if you trust what CNN says.
Yeah.
So CNN was
you're not getting what I'm saying.
I think
The-
you're missing the point on knowing how to navigate yourself to Wikipedia, and instead of
you're not getting what I'm saying at all, because that we agree on. This is doesn't matter that it's Wikipedia or not. That should be every single piece of information that you ever consider to be true. Research it. That is we agree on that from the get-go. What I'm saying is, right now, like Fox News, for example, as much as I disagree with a lot of Fox News, I disagree with a lot of CNN, I still look at what they do to get my own opinion, see what are they saying, then I start to do my research. The point is that CNN can report on something, Wikipedia agrees with it now, they will allow you to cite it as a source. But if something comes right now from Fox News and it's their political content, they will reject you as a source. So you
but
can't
we're talking
even
about different kinds
source.
of information.
But it
If
doesn't.
you're interested in the
No.
migratory patterns of the monarch butterfly, do you think there's some insidious
History.
people,
Have you ever
like
history? No,
blocking
History
information?
Channel.
Nobody's censoring that. There's no, need
but you're
for
not
it.
getting what. No,
I am
but you're
getting
not.
what you're saying. The
No,
10%. What you're
history.
talking about is the 10% of the information that I'm talking
How
about.
is History Channel? How is
90%
History
of
Channel the
global information
10%?
is not controversial. It's not political. People do. There's no need to censor it.
But Wikipedia is political. Is my point. They pick and
On
choose who.
political issues, it is, yes.
No. They. How is History Channel political?
How is the monarch butterfly political?
how are me looking up the list of NCAA champions the last 50 years political?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It's not
No, but hold on. No, but
accurate information.
But you guys don't understand. If
We
Fox
do.
reports on what you're talking about, no matter what it's about, the New York Post, you know what? Let's use the New York Post, a place that I go on almost every single day, because you look at the New York Times, you look at the New York Post, it's probably somewhere in the middle between the two, right? I think we can agree on that they're both full of shit to an extent, and the truth is somewhere in the middle. They will accept whatever the New York Times is going to say, but they won't accept the New York Post, although they'll report on anything. Like I've read stories about history on there. I've read stories about what the fuck's happening in Hollywood. They report on everything. That's my point, is that by default, because they don't agree with the leaning of the platform, the content that is on that platform is deemed unacceptable. That's what I'm saying. And that's why I'm using, when I saw the History Channel, but when I watched the History Channel,
batting average in 1908, Wikipedia is going to be just fine for that, is my point.
No, because they still censor sports plays that they don't agree with. That's my point.
No, they don't.
What?
That's crazy.
Bro, look, but hold on. But this is what I like about people that never done the research, that are actually arguing with a guy that spent 2.5 hours going through that list this morning as we speak. Like, they literally.
I'd like you to finish what you're saying, because I'd like to respond.
No, but I wanted to talk about it in further details, because I have all the research, I have all the pictures, all the research that I've done to show it. I had no intentions in going into this right now. All I'm saying is Wikipedia is a terrible example to use, because they are biased.
Well,
no matter what,
there's no doubt about that. There's no doubt.
What I'm saying is, what I want to make sure that people understand is, even as a guy that does this, that researches this shit for a living, I don't trust places that I agree with. That 90% of their stuff I agree with. I'm like, yeah, no, you know what? I don't trust you. I'm still going to go confirm on the complete opposite to make sure that it's right. It's just that at one point, Wikipedia was a great place for you to just have what looked like unbiased opinion. Like 10 years ago, 5 years ago even, you could go on Wikipedia and still get a pretty fucking fair amount of information on whatever topics you were looking for. Like, forget the politics. You could go on there and you're like, you know what? I know about this already. And yeah, no, that makes sense. And as Jason said, you look at who they're sourcing, and then you can investigate further. But now they won't even allow
this conversation.
But we agree. All I'm saying is, I'm telling people out there that you can no longer use Wikipedia as a non-biased source of information. Like, even Wikipedia in their definition doesn't trust themselves. Like, it is the funniest thing I've ever seen. I was almost pissing my pants this morning. They rated themselves as unreliable. Like, it is the dumbest thing. Like, it is the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
I
But
think it's the most honest thing they've ever done. Right? Joe
it's
Rogan himself
just-
tells you, don't come to me for political advice.
it's just, I find it unfortunate because it is a behemoth. Like, it is such a massive, massive platform that accepts money from regular people, from you and I. Like, every time I use it, they're fucking asking me for tips or to give them money so they can survive. But it's just unfortunate that there's not a lot of sources anymore from the left, from the right, from the middle that you can actually trust to be honest and unbiased. Like, there's no such thing as real journalism, it seems like today. Like, you almost have to go to podcasts like here, but I'm not a fucking journalist. I never claimed to be, and never will claim to be a journalist, because I'm fucking biased. I have my own opinion. I have my moral values that I base my opinion on. So don't trust me. This is all I'm saying. Is, sorry to go on that fucking rant of 20 minutes there, but it's just to say that I wish that those platforms would be as honest as we tend to be and just say, don't trust me. Like, whoever's listening to this, don't fucking take my word for it. Go research it. I'm just there to make you question what I'm saying. Don't trust me because I said it. I just wish Wikipedia had the balls to say that. I just wish that all the fucking platforms out there would have the balls to say the same and not claim that they have the actual answer, or they hold the truth.
I think you're trying to play to people to not be so stupid, right? I don't think
I will
want-
never call them stupid, because this is,
No.
I don't insult people, but
Sorry,
stop
ignorant.
being so naive. Naive, I think, is
I'm
the
not-
word I like.
Well, protected ignorance is stupidity. So I use that word when it's appropriate. Okay. If you've been informed, if you're ignorant, you didn't know any better, you're being informed and you're still pushing away, that's just stupid. So that's when stupid becomes stupid. Stupid is what stupid does, as far as Gump would say. Now, I think you need to take into consideration, like the way I read my Bible, right? Is everything in the Bible true? No. Sometimes parts of the Bible might be torn off, right? Sometimes parts in the Bible might be written over, right? Like that part's written over from like 100 years ago, whatever. So me, as a critical thinker or just a human being, will take my treasure map and read it the best way I know how to read it to get my treasure. And that is the way we need to navigate ourselves through Wikipedia. For example, if they say someone's a conspiracy theorist and they have a footnote and you scroll down to the source of the footnote and you see their source, you as not as this highly intelligent person, but as a fucking kid from Brooklyn, just say, okay, yeah, all right, that's they got it from there. And if you're already coming in with a confirmation bias, and if you believe everything CNN's going to say, then that works for you. But if you're skeptical, maybe you're a Fox guy on the other end. I'm just going to argue from both ends of the spectrum. You'd be like, okay, Wikipedia's in this case is full of shit, right? But if you say Babe Ruth had hit 60 home runs and the footnote says, Baseball Hall of Fame statistics measures, right? That's a reliable source, and then Wikipedia becomes reliable. So to answer Nico, what you're saying is Wikipedia is not reliable at all, and I'm just saying Wikipedia is reliable when it is, and it is not when it is not.
Use media literacy is basically what
Actually, as per Wikipedia themselves, they are unreliable.
I think they are when they are, and they're not when they're not.
They claim themselves to be unreliable.
That's like if I told the truth 19 times and lied once, I'm a liar, right? But no one's gonna believe if I lied 19 times and told the truth once and I'm honest. So what are we? How are we approaching this? Are we approaching this from the negative inference? Are we approaching this from as three critical thinkers? And Nico, Nico's almost on another level in regards to critical thinking. I enjoy hanging out with you. I enjoy arguing with you because of things like this. So I want to end with that compliment.
I just want to show this, and you know what, Jason, I value your opinion, and I like that we can disagree and still be polite about it. But see, this is what I was talking about right here. So Wikipedia, not to be trusted. Wikipedia is largely user generated, yet this system that they just implemented, they have right here, they have 5 different, like that's their legend, that's their 5 identifier that they identified all media outlets out there. They call themselves generally unreliable. I just thought it was the funniest thing. And all I'm trying to point out is that ever since this been implemented about 2 weeks ago is when it was reported. I learned about it today. There's not one right-leaning platform that is still acceptable, either generally reliable or no consensus, as in, we don't have enough information to qualify it yet. Every single one of them have been classified as being full of shit, basically, and untrustworthy, and they cannot be used as sources anymore. Which this is, we talk about free speech. I think we all agree that it's government, but this is censorship. This is 100% censorship because, again, it's user generated. I have an article on fucking Wikipedia, and if there, and I guarantee
it's the first thing that pops up on your wall. You're right. It is,
but that's my point. But that's my
It's
point.
essentially just a collection of sources, and you have to have the brains and the critical thinking.
It's a
to
collection
navigate.
of certain
not if you're
sources.
omitting sources that from both ends of the spectrum. And I think that's the point Nico's trying to make here.
100%. So I used to believe, like I was, until I knew that they were biased. Like I knew that, but everybody is. Let's not lie to each other here. Everybody has a certain amount of bias, and it's going to show. If you're honest if you think you're unbiased, show me somebody that's unbiased. I will point you somebody that's full of shit. So at the same time, I don't want to say I was surprised by this, but I was very disappointed because I have used Wikipedia in the past as a source of material. And yeah, sure, I look at the source, but I don't care. I post articles. I talk about stuff that's related on CNN, that's posted on New York Times, New York Post. It could be on fucking Breitbart for all I care. If I see something there, I'll go research it and it makes sense. I can verify it. I use news aggregators so I can confirm who's talking about it. If there's fucking 60 different platforms are talking about it, chances are it probably happened, right? Like it's probably something that's somewhat true, so I can start looking into it. Now we're really seeing that it's no longer unbiased. Like it crossed that path. We all have a certain amount of unbiased, but now we're really talking about being literally righties. If you write for a column that is right, we don't give a fuck what you call what you are. We don't fucking we will not allow people to use you as a source, which is this is censorship 101 right there, right?
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
Are we gonna move on?
Why the hell would we move on?
Took it as far as it can go.
Yeah. Let's get to the.
In addition to hating women, he now hates Wikipedia.
Yes, correct. Wikipedia.
I don't hate.
Wikipedia is
never
definitely
hate
not a good source, especially on controversial and politically
and I have to agree with Nico on
biased topics. Yeah.
And again, and again, that's for someone that's like outside of the Democratic establishment that leans left. The things they're saying about lefties that disagree with the DNC on Wikipedia, like Russell Brand, Jimmy.
Oh
Dore,
yeah. That's all. Yeah.
Robert F. Kennedy is the biggest one, right? I'll bet you that if you look up the anti-vaxxer will probably come up in Wikipedia if you mention RFK when he's already demonstrated demonstrably that he's not against vaccines. Which, by the way, for YouTube purposes, are safe and effective. And if you don't have your ninth booster, you can go fuck yourself.
Hold on. RFK,
anti-vaccine activist. Yeah.
RFK Jr.
And conspiracy theorist.
We're about to prove Nico's point in about 10 seconds.
This is literally first thing.
But no one.
No one disagrees.
No,
but that's the meta.
Yeah.
But that's the meta description. That's not even on the webpage yet. He is the founder and former chairman of Children's Health Defense, an anti-vaccine advocacy group and proponent of COVID-19 vaccine misinformation. That is the description of the new health secretary of the United States.
You know what the sad thing is? The guy he gets all his where he gets all his information from is from the CDC and the WHO, because all of the things that the media is telling you and what WHO was actually saying, the truth for the last 3 years has been hidden in plain sight. Like the booster in January 2022, the WHO said last year's cocktail for this year's mutation is quote unquote not sustainable and not appropriate. They said themselves you shouldn't get it, but the media at the same time was telling you you should get it, and the government was telling the social media to censor you from using sources that they say they go by. They canceled you because they say we go by these sources. I got my first apology on YouTube, for that. Has YouTube ever apologized to you guys for anything?
Well, YouTube apologized to you.
Yes.
Never.
I
Wow.
timestamped it. I saved the email. I'll give you a 60-second synopsis
Frame
of
it.
what happened. I had a carnivore doctor named Dr. Bart K. And a year later, they gave me a strike and they said, you have medical misinformation. And they said, when it comes to the COVID or whatever, and we go by our sources are the CDC and our sources of the WHO. So I wrote a letter back and I said, here is a link to Walensky saying it doesn't prevent transmission and it doesn't whatever. And that's the head of the CDC. Here's a link of the WHO talking about the unsustainability and the inappropriateness of a fourth booster because it's this year's mutation. And I said, so not only did I not go against the guidelines of the WHO and whatever, I echoed the sentiments of the people that you support. And I said, and the last line was apologize. And I did it as a joke because I knew YouTube, they just stamp rejected and they go play basketball, right? 10 minutes later, I get an email. And 10 minutes later, you're thinking their algorithm just said, no, we looked through it rigorously and just still decided. And they're like, we're so sorry. We apologize. We understand you're going through this. And I was like, oh, what? And Nico, it's somewhere lost in my emails under the podcast section.
You should send it over, man, because
in the history of YouTube, I got a profusely I'm sorry.
Wow.
But there's no way in hell that somebody that works at Google or at YouTube with the blue hair actually is playing basketball. So
but I had him by the ball.
Remove that from your.
But
No, but you can't say they're not playing any sport, bro.
They ain't playing hockey for sure. I agree with you. By the way, I fell in love with hockey after they booed the national anthem and Canada and the USA was ready to throw hands. You're like, I'm not going to watch no NBA All-Star game.
That's been going on for a while, though. Anytime there's been any conflict, like even back during the Iraq War, Americans teams were getting booed when they came to Canada.
Mm-hmm.
But that's part of the brotherly love.
Nico, when you were away, we were talking about how
I can hear you. My camera overheated because my fan wasn't on.
We were talking about, so you hate cameras now, huh? Okay. So no, but we were talking about like the All-Star game and how like
I heard
these guys are just letting these guys dunk on each other with smiles on their faces. And I'm like, Rihanna should go to the All-Star game because these guys don't beat anybody, So and then you got hockey. As you so much boo the national anthem, not even 60 seconds, there's already 3 fights.
Oh yeah, people lose their shit.
I fell in love with hockey because when you drive hours and hours to a game to see your favorite player, they don't scratch themselves for the
play.
long
Yeah.
They play. And this is why people love Jordan, because Jordan, 13 seasons, for 11 of his 13 seasons, he played all 82 games. Kobe Bryant,
well, the NBA used to be like that.
I'm going to take a day off when someone took a trip to California and got Lakers tickets. And imagine that. Imagine you drive.
It was a show.
A game
but it was a show.
Your favorite, all 4 of your players are scratched from the lineup for load management.
If for anybody that's listening to this and even to you guys, I highly, highly suggest a book called Winning by Tim S. Grover, which was the personal coach of Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. He was the coach of Akeem Olajuwon. He was a coach of so many great basketball players. But if you want to understand the mentality of a Jordan or the Black Mamba, it's insane.
Hakeem.
Oh, yeah. It's just that understanding their mindset is such on a different level. But all to say that you're right. Like people, this is why I think, just look at the smile of hockey players too. They don't care about their faces, right? They take the mouthpiece off. They're missing 5 tooth.
Oh, yeah.
They have all the money in the world. They can fix their fucking teeth. They just don't give a.
Right.
They don't give a fuck.
Right. I respect that. And I respect MMA guys too. Anyone that knows you're coming to watch them, and they don't take plays off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what you want. You want to see elite athletes.
Basketball seems to be the worst for it, for sure.
It's a shame because it used to be my sport. It used to be something I absolutely loved.
Hockey?
But nowadays,
Basketball.
no, basketball.
Oh, yeah.
You know, hold on. Before we go back to the subject, I want to show this because you talked about MMA, right? I'm a Muay Thai guy. There was a meme that shows a soccer player and then a Muay Thai guy, and it says the Muay Thai guy is all split up, bleeding all over the fucking place, like what you're seeing right now. It says trying to convince the referee that he's okay to go, and then you have the soccer player that a little piece of grass touched his shin bone, and he's on the ground trying to convince the ref. But yeah, you're right, man. Hockey players are normally tough as nails. Basketball players used to be awesome.
There's nothing in the world watching Max Holloway, the BMF. They had something called the Bad Motherfucker title. It's an unofficial title. Take two of the baddest guys the last couple of years, Justin Gaethje and Max Holloway. The last round, the 5th round, Max was ahead in the scorecards, and with 10 seconds left, because they clapped the 2 pieces of wood to tell you 10 seconds. He stands in the middle of the cage and he directs Justin Gaethje right here, and they bite in their mouthpiece. And with 1 second left, Max knocks him out with a second left in the last round, and everybody was like, "Oh my!" It was the most exciting thing, and they're like, "Why did you do that at the end?" And he's like, "Well, the title says BMF. How could I call myself a BMF if?" if I'm gonna be ahead in the scorecards and just run away,
That's funny.
You know, here's another one. Hold on, just one more. This guy, Kevin Ross. He's a guy I spoke to. I had a couple podcasts with this guy. Nice. He's married to Gina Carano. Gina Caroni. What's her name? Gina Carano.
Yep.
Gina Carano.
Yep.
The girl that got censored by Disney. She had a massive contract with Disney, and she said being an anti-vax today is like being a Jew under Germany, under Hitler Germany, which I agree with her 100% because it was a witch hunt.
But it's okay for Trump's own VP to call him Hitler. Trump's own vice president, Vance, called him Hitler. But that ain't nobody canceling Vance.
No, but again, it's there used to be good sports, not many anymore, if you ask me. But let's go back to what we veered off, and it's always when you're around, Jason. Jesus, at least. Wow,
the guys, they're not going to invite me anymore. All the other episodes
guy.
This one, man.
Fucking guy. You know what?
You guys are doing fine till I came along.
So, for the people that just joined us and they're wondering why the fuck are we talking about sports? 1, because Jason's here.
Yeah.
2, because we were talking about free speech and censorship. We were on our way to show videos of what's happening. JD Vance went in front of the Munich. He was in Munich talking to European countries, calling them out for not only censoring their population, but to actually imprisoning them for social media posts, or as he put it, thought crimes, which I thought that was a great job. 1984 style. Absolutely love it. But all to say that this is what we're talking about. We're talking about free speech, censorship. We showed a video of a guy getting 20 months in prison by a UK judge because he said that he did not want his money to go to immigrants who rape children, which I think we could all agree on that I wouldn't want to pay for that either. I wouldn't want to support child rapists. I don't care that they're immigrants or not. I don't want to support them at all.
In old age homes.
But 20 months in prison for that. Now, let's show more videos or else we'll never get through them.
Yep.
Here's another one from the UK that happened, I think, a couple of months ago.
1440, arresting you on suspicion of improper use of the electronic communications network under Section 127 of the Communications Act. Okay, so you do not have to say that it may harm your defence if you don't mention one question, something which you later are in court. Anything you do say may be given evidence. Do you understand that?
So I'm actually being arrested?
You're going to be arrested, okay?
Right.
So you go to the police station.
Right.
Okay, this is in relation to some comments that you've made on a Facebook page. Okay?
Oh, really? Oh, it's a Facebook crime, is it?
Okay.
Right.
So we need to ask you some questions about that.
Right.
Have you got anything in your pockets, Thomas?
I've got my keys. No, that's about it, I think. Keys.
Hold on. I need to say this. I don't know what scares me the most, getting arrested for posts on social media or having her look at me while she's taking gloves. Like,
The
what the
gloves
fuck
off,
are you
yeah.
gonna are you gonna loop that up before you
What-
fuck me? Like, where the hell are you going with this?
It's the whole thing is just so Orwellian. It's
So-
scary.
I mean, the
Anyone
gloves
who's
make
been
it more than
arrested-
Orwellian.
But the glove would, getting arrested for thought crimes is one thing, but her looking at me like that, I'm gonna use gloves. Why the fuck do
We're
you need
arresting
gloves?
you for a Facebook post. Like, Jesus Christ.
We can search them under Section 32 basic level attack.
Right.
That's for dangerous items.
Is there really no
I
crime
mean,
in the
you
UK?
said I was going to be arrested under some what information? But I'm going to be
We've had
arrested for
reports that
posting on
you've made
Facebook.
some comments that are offensive, obscene, and people have made a complaint about that, and it's transferred.
And
they've
can
come
you-
from
can you tell
a
me what
Facebook
this
account
comment
in your
was?
name.
We'll do
Okay,
that
well,
in
we'll
an
do that when
interview.
we interview.
All right. And
They
so
can't
what
even
am I-
tell them. They won't even tell them what it is.
That dude looked like Uncle Creepy.
Oh, fuck yeah. You just signed
That
up for
dude,
that.
like, did you see the way he put on the gloves?
Oh, yeah. Fuck
Oh,
yeah.
nah, he looked
I-
like he belonged at the Blue Oyster Bar in New York with the fucking Village people, dude. Yo.
It's scary as fuck, man. I don't think people think cops are going around. I've seen lots of videos like that. It's 3 or 4 or 5 of them. Meanwhile, you do have these grooming rape gangs going around, and cops are happily turning a blind eye to that.
I don't
But
know. Why is that? You think it's on direct command?
Uh-oh. For all purposes for YouTube, this is entertainment. This is only our opinions. This is not true. This is satire. We do not believe what we're saying right now. We do say that it is all for entertainment purposes. Wink, wink,
Mhm.
wink. Go ahead, Jason.
The question is, are most police I know are good people. I know when you hear the police on the news, it's always a bad thing. But we're talking about these handful of incidences and from people who I don't know what they turned into or what they stayed, but they mean well when they join the force. So, which leads me to my question: the people who are trying to do good in the world are in their job. The only reason why they were ignored these rapists or turned a blind eye is if it's upon direct command.
yeah, well, are you familiar? Are you familiar with the scandal?
Do they have marching orders to not do anything?
If you're familiar with the scandal, a lot of the victims are saying, so this went on for 20 or 20 years. Like even grooming rape gangs is a euphemism. It is Pakistani Muslim rape gangs. That is like 95% of the people perpetuating these crimes. And it's a very specific crime. They're groomed in a very specific way, and it is groups of men. They are, some of the reason it came out on social media a couple months ago and really caused a huge uproar is because some of the transcripts were released. And I don't even think I want to talk about it here on the show, but like graphic detail, like talking about
That's a memorandum.
using the judge was sentencing, and he was just describing the crimes. He was like, you used a pump to prepare this 12-year-old girl for anal rape by 6 men, like that kind of stuff. And I think it just snapped, and people, it was all over social media about a month or two ago, and they're not talking about it quite as much. But many, some of the fathers of these women were going to the men's homes, banging on the door, and they were the ones arrested. I'm going to send you some stuff. It's absolutely infuriating. And they were told essentially it would cause racial tension if they were to really crack down on this. And so they didn't.
Why is it okay for Nazis to do it?
And it's sort of this an example, just an example, but it's everywhere you see of this sort of insane far left woke bullshit. I know we've talked a lot about the definition of woke, how it has evolved over time. It started in the Black community, but what it means right now is something completely different. But it has permeated. Elon Musk uses the term woke mind virus. I remember rolling my eyes when I first heard that term, and now it's pretty it's pretty hard to see as anything else but that. It literally seems to spread like a virus, and it seems to it's infected so many government institutions, police, government itself, even corporate America seems to sort of being pulling back from it. We talked about DEI the other day and how even Disney's pulling back, but up until Trump was elected, it was still in full swing.
Don't you
So
think this is a more religious thing and not necessarily because
I think it's a culture.
in the United States, black people we still getting shot in the back, we still getting beat over the head when we protest peacefully. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Yeah.
it hasn't stopped them from beating up people of color in the United States who are protesting the right way.
No, that's right.
Is it a Muslim thing? Like they don't want to be considered a xenophobe.
Yeah, they don't want to be considered racist. Essentially, that's it. They don't want to be called, and it's all too easy. If you are, especially in the UK, if you are a person of a certain identity, to just call the cops. Oh, it's just because I'm racist, or because you're racist, or it's because I'm Muslim, it's because I'm brown. And the way that the cops have sort of evolved in the UK, especially right now, that seems to be a very effective critique, and it essentially stops them from doing their job. And it does come down from on high. It absolutely does.
It has to.
Yeah, no, it absolutely does.
Don't you agree? Like there are cops that want to do their fucking job, man.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I've seen some of those videos, and you can tell the cops themselves are not into it, but they are just.
But it doesn't matter.
They're just
no, I don't believe in that at all. This is bullshit. I don't believe in that at all. If you, what's the name of the book right here? You guys should read Ordinary Men.
No. I'm not excusing them. I'm not justifying. I'm just saying that's the way the world works. There will always be foot soldiers. They will always find some people willing to do their dirty work. So I mean, that's just
but it's a paradigm. If you're going to be a police officer, we're going to agree right now that it is one of the hardest jobs that you can do in North America. Like I can't talk about overseas, but in North America, it is one of the hardest jobs because they're going to hate you no matter what.
Absolutely.
As Jason said earlier, we have this mystical thing that we look at police officers and we think that they're all bad by default, which is totally inaccurate. But the point in the matter is that it is a hard job, and I understand. I wouldn't want to be a police officer as much as I want to help my fellow men. I don't want to be a police officer because there's responsibility that goes with it that I don't necessarily want to possess. I don't want to deal with them. I'll be 100% honest. That being said, it is still their jobs as police officers to not enforce this if they don't agree with it. Because I agree with you. But that's all I'm saying. Because when I see those videos, I'm not surprised. Because at the end of the day, Muslims in the UK only represent something like 6.5% as per 2021, what I'm looking at right now. 6.5% of the population in England, and Wales identifies as Muslim, so 3.9 million %. In Canada is very small too, right? But we have a massive population of Muslim, yet they're capable of blocking Yonge Street in Toronto, which is it's probably the most busy road in Canada. They can block it and start praying.
Nonsense.
But then me as a Christian, I could not even go pray on the sidewalk where I'm not silently. I've seen videos of people get arrested. I've had people on my podcast that were pastors that were getting arrested for preaching outside of a library because there was a bunch of guys in dresses that were indoctrinating kids through their through their
activism.
Shit. No. You know the drag queen hour.
Oh,
they have
story hour. Drag queen
story hour. Thank you. Yeah, drag queen story hour. So it is just that the UK especially has become very dependent on UK votes, on Muslim votes. At the end of the day, that's all it is. It's like the fringe on the right, the fringe on the left. There's a 10-15% as per studies that shows you that they are the most violent, they are the most outspoken, they're the people that we will listen to because they shout the loudest. And this is what's happening in the UK. They're protecting those peoples because they know that they will react. They're not just going to sit down and take to change governments. And I'm not saying that they're doing it the right way. I'm just saying that they're still showing that if population does not agree with the government, there's something you can do about it. That being said, this is all it is. It's the fringe that are talking so loudly because it's happening in the UK, it's happening in Canada, it's happening even in Alabama, which is a fucking Christian state. I was at the university in Alabama. We were in Huntsville, which is the biggest city. But I was in Huntsville, the biggest city in Alabama. I think Birmingham and Huntsville are the two biggest one. And there was a protest for against for pro-Palestine, and they were like, I was there, and not for the protest. I was there to record content, but they were spewing some bullshit. Like, it was literally hate. If I would have said what they were saying as a Christian guy, I would have fucking got arrested in a very Christian fucking state. And there was
No,
like
you
10
wouldn't.
police.
Look,
Of course
you
I
got-
would,
You got a bunch of Christians wearing white pointy hats that talk that shit all the time, and no
but
one
they're not
arrested them.
Christian. But they're not Christian.
Then
Let's
these
agree to
guys,
disagree.
so why are these guys Muslim then?
Was that?
So why do we consider them Muslim, right?
But
But we
it
don't
was
consider
religious.
motherfuckers
No,
with
but it
white hats Christians.
no, but
why?
but it was no, but they don't. Those people are not fucking Christian.
And then what makes these people real Muslims,
They claim to be.
right?
They
What-
claim to be.
Okay, wow. So, I mean, what about all of the Muslims who choose to live in peace? What about all the Muslims who are not part of that gangster shit? Why are
You know, we should do.
why
Hold
are
on, hold on.
You got
Hold
neo-Nazi
on.
Christians, pointy-headed
No, but-
KKK Christians.
Hold
I-
on.
I think the difference
but
is the
hold on, hold on.
KKK is
Jewish
not
people-
accepted.
Jewish
KKK is
people-
reviled.
No,
Jewish
but
people
hold on.
genociding the population.
Let's. This is a rabbit hole that I don't want to avoid, but that deserves an episode. I think we should definitely approach this. I think we should find a Christian scholar. We should find a Muslim scholar, and we will review it. Because as much as I read this stuff, I'm not an expert. I will
Right.
never claim
No,
to
but
be a Christian
foundationally,
expert.
why is it news now when it wasn't news?
No, but
when it was happening with other people.
But it was. It's
I'm
just.
glad it's news now. We have to pay attention to this. We shouldn't let.
But
people-
I agree with you. It's just you saying that it's not happening to Christian is incorrect, because Christians have been in prison under the FACE Act that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
And they're still in prison right now. Actually, they got released because of Trump. That's one of the first things that he did. He released them through executive order. But all I'm saying is it's not just happening to Muslims. It's not happening just to black guys. It's happening to people that are peacefully protesting here in the US.
which is ridiculous.
It's no, but
Right.
that we agree. We
You're
agree.
right.
And that,
I mean, when
and I
Rob
don't want to
said
cut,
that, I was like,
and I'm not saying but the point I'm trying to make is like, it's not a race thing. It's as soon as religion is brought to the conversation, this is where it seems to be problematic, which is why I would suggest that we do a full episode on the differences, on what the Quran actually is, on what the Bible actually is, with experts, not you and me that have a underrated
you
understanding
call
of
your-
both.
can I the Bible?
Can I
Was
just
that?
add
You
one
would
little
not
bit?
consider yourself an expert on the Bible?
Oh, hell no. Fuck
Can
no.
I add just one little
No
bit
work.
to that before we move on?
Okay.
Yep.
I actually don't think it's the problem is necessarily Christians or Muslims. I think it's, again, I'm going to, it seems like a vague word used, but like woke or wokeism, it is that has infected so many aspects of the left. I made a post the other day about, do you know that actress who's in the black one? She's a black bald woman. She was
Yes.
in the Cynthia Elva. Anyway, she was just cast to play Jesus Christ.
You're
in-
talking about Cynthia Erivo. I wanted to
Exactly.
talk about that today, so good call, bro.
So I'm just very briefly. So I had mentioned, I said, so I made a post. I said, I'm an atheist. I don't really have a dog in this fight. But ask yourself this: would she be allowed to play Muhammad? It was sort of a rhetorical question. Would she be allowed would she be canceled? And of course she would be. The same people that would not give two shits about her playing Jesus Christ would be up in arms about her to play Muhammad. And of course Muslims would be upset, but it would mostly be white, woke Westerners who would be upset. And so my question is, if the answer is no, explain the difference. And one person answered the question that I was looking for. She said the woke left, because for the woke left, anything that it rejects or is hostile to Western culture is regarded as pure and untarnished, uncorrupted by colonialism and capitalism. It is seen as righteous, no matter how much savagery, intolerance, or extremism lies within it. Now, that last part, I mean, I'm not saying that that's necessarily true of Islam, but that's what we're talking about. Wokeism is a self-hating, broadly speaking, white Western ideology that has become almost a religion or a cult that simply hates and despises anything Western. So that's why it hates Christianity, but would never say anything against Islam. It isn't religion per se. It isn't race per se. It's a hatred of anything to do with the West, a hatred of anything to do with the self. And that's what I see. That's the perspective that I look at when I say.
But there's more to that though.
That's
There's
why
also
like
the response. Muslims will be very vocal about not agreeing. Let's say that something happened. They will stand up as a
for sure. But the cops have no problem. The cops would arrest Christians if they stood up. They won't arrest Muslims, and it's because wokeism has infected, in the UK especially, even the police force. It hasn't necessarily done the same in America.
No, but you're speaking on actual facts. You know,
but hold on,
before what happens right now is true. You know,
look at this. This is a post this is a comment that was made on a post that I it was a reply on a comment that I made yesterday. America is not free for people anymore. If it ever was, immigrants, refugees, all non-white races, Islam, Judaism, LGBTQ plus XXYZ groups, and women no longer have rights or freedom since Trump became 45 and 47. This is the perfect example of your woke mind virus. They're basically, and my answer is and it's interesting how I will never get an answer to this, but please tell me the rights all groups you listed don't have that a white American does.
They will never answer that.
And but of course not. But this is to show what you're talking about. Is this actually, people actually believe this crap, that those communities that are, man, I can't say that those woke communities have lost their rights for a month ago. Like, this is insanity, but this is the world we live in. This is what you're talking about. That's why they can look at Islam and say, you know what, they can do no wrong, but Christians, not, you know what, no, shut up. You don't have the right to speak. We should put you in jail. It's just insane. It's just absolutely insane, and we just need to be we just need to slice somewhere down the middle and say, okay, this is what you know what? I will never be a Muslim because I don't believe in what they say. I don't. That doesn't mean they shouldn't have the right to believe in it.
I believe in Christianity because I get to pick and choose scripture just like every other religion. Scripture I want to beat folk up with. but
the point is that,
right? Do you want to evangelize or antagonize? Pick your verse.
I don't want to tell people what they can and cannot do unless it impacts my life directly. Unless you're really doing something like, you know, the libertarian quote that my rights end where yours begins.
Right.
This is the way I see it. Do I agree with a lot of things that's legal? No, I don't. As a Christian, I don't. Does that mean they should be illegal because I disagree with it? No. If they don't have an impact in my life, the fuck do I care? At the end of the day, you're going to have to talk to God. You're going to have to answer yourself, not me.
Amen.
Don't care.
Amen. Here's the most difficult question, and I'm glad I got the two guys that are most qualified to answer it. In the United States,
she asked question if we're qualified.
No, look, you don't call yourself an expert in the Bible, but let me tell you something. I've been an evangelistic church for almost 10 years. I was in a Catholic church, and I was in a Lutheran church, and I think people need more Nico in their life to have peace, harmony, and just working out without being called a white supremacist. So my question to you is, Christians are being persecuted. Christians are being arrested for praying silently. These are all, we agree, are chronological facts, right? This is not our opinion. These things actually happen, right? So fuck Wikipedia if they disagree with us on that. My question to you is, if the people that are running the country are Christians, why are they doing this to other Christians? The United States of America, we all agree that the majority, with the exception of Ilhan Omar and some others, but you're talking about 500 seats, 50 seats here, right? All of these people got elected because they're Christian driven. Trump probably wouldn't have got over the finish line without Christian evangelicals, and not to mention Black liberal evangelicals, because people don't talk about them, because they're Black people go to church. Let me tell you something. Black people go to church 4 hours in the morning and go back at night. They go to church twice, and they mostly vote Democrat. So my question to you, tackle this. Whoever wants to go first.
I got this one.
This is, why are Christians persecuting other Christians? You would think that they would prioritize their own religion. Is this dominated by, has the left gone so far off their fucking rocker and I'm not going to use the term woke because again, have they gone so far off their rocker that they're the majority that can make this happen?
Well, I think there's a couple things. Well, first of all, I mean, Christianity has evolved. It is not the same in practice as, say, Islam is. My last girlfriend I used to date, she was from Algeria. She was a Muslim. So I we talked a little about, she grew up in Dubai. We talked a little about, her family was moderate for like Dubai, but still quite conservative for here. I've talked quite a bit about, Islam and how it's, the fact of the matter is, if you are a Muslim today, even if you're considered moderate, it still is the defining feature of your life. It is this thing that your life is centered on. Christianity is not necessarily that. I would say most politicians who are Christians are not really. They may identify as a Christian. They might even go to church once a week, but they probably live more or less secular lives in every other aspect. In other words, Christianity does not define them. And then I would say the other thing is sort of, I know I understand your dislike of the word wokeism, and so do I. I think it's vague. It almost feels like a buzzword. But I just can't think of I just can't think of a better word. But what we're actually talking about is essentially a far left ideological mind virus that is essentially has infected all aspects of, for sure, the left. And since the left has had cultural dominance over Western society over the last 20 years, it has by necessity infected all of society, including government, including the police, including charities, NGOs, academia. It started in academia, but essentially the best way to think of this is as a self-hating cult. And so anything that is associated with the West, even though the West is more secular than any other, is far more secular than the Muslim world, it is still, broadly speaking, a Christian culture. That means it goes in the bin, right? That it's okay to hate that. Also, being white is, obviously the West is diverse, but it's broadly speaking white majority, which means white people in the bin. It's okay to hate them. If straight is obviously the majority sexuality, in the bin. It's okay to hate them. And so you just essentially, wokeism, the way that I use it, you essentially have a list of identities. Everyone is boiled down simply to their immutable traits, their identity, their sexuality, their race, their religion, their gender. And everyone is defined by these, and there are favored identity groups and unfavored ones. And all you got to do, if you want to see what is the right thing to do in any situation, is you simply weigh the two. If this person is in a favored identity group and this person is not, this one's right every time, no matter what. So if you had a bunch of Christians blocking the street, that's an unfavored identity group. They can be arrested. They can be thrown in the cells. That can be broken up by police. But Muslims, that's favored because it is outside the West, and therefore is considered a favored identity group, and they can do essentially whatever they want. And if they are persecuted, most foreigners and people, when they come to the West, they understand the rules of the West. They understand that all they have to do is say racism, Islamophobia, all the buzzwords that get, bigotry, hate, and essentially they can do whatever they want. I'm simplifying that and exaggerating a little bit, but broadly speaking, this is, how I think I perceive a lot of what's going on. Now they're starting to get pushback on this sort of wokeism, if you want to call it that. And I think it eventually will be pushed back till we get to a sense of sanity. But to me, it's pretty easy fix, just apply laws across the board, stop centering identity and identity politics and everything, judge people by the content of their character and not the color of their skin. Pretty basic stuff. Nico?
At the end of the day, it has nothing to do with wokeism. It has nothing to do with the left. It has everything to do with the fact that Christians are a bunch of fucking pussies that will not live what the Bible says. This is something all of the pastors that I've met in the past few years across the US don't like. They don't like me. Christians don't like me because I will call them out on their bullshit. And this is what's going on right now. Christians are weak. Christians believe that because they go at fucking Sunday mass, that makes up for all the crap that they do during the week. They believe that reading the Bible once in a while actually makes them Christian. This is the problem with Christianity, and this is the problem why Christianity is not okay anymore, or is being vilified, because we don't stand up for what we're supposed to. And this is something, and I'm not giving credit to Muslims or anything, but they will fight for what they believe in. They will react,
but only because they have the confidence knowing
bro,
that they will be backed up by society.
Bro, stop. You went on for like 5 minutes. I didn't interrupt, although I didn't agree with you. Just let me speak. What I'm saying is the onus is never on other people. It is always on you. The woke can push all the crap that they want. If people stand up and say, no, we're done. You're going to act like a child. That's fine. Do it at home. In the streets or in government, it ain't going to fucking happen. It's not going to fly. That's on us. We as Christian, and I'm talking about myself here, just need to stand up for what we believe in. If it means we're going to get arrested for it, you know what? Fuck it. Just do it. Guess what? Martin Luther King, which is a guy that is always being used for social justice because he basically fucking started this shit. He always credits the fact that he was a Christian for doing what he did. Do you know what I'm saying? This is the thing. This was a real Christian. Do I agree with everything that he said? Probably not. I'm sure I can find shit I'm going to disagree with. But for a woke left that loves social justice, they will never admit that the only reason their whole movement exists is because of a black guy that was a Baptist pastor that did it because it was the right thing to do based on his fucking Christian values. But this is where we need to go back on and admit that this whole fucking society in North America was based on Judeo-Christian values. And we just need to stop letting people walk all over us. If it means we're going to get arrested, you know what? Fuck it. Be part of it. There's always consequences to actions, right? There's always something that's going to happen. But this is the difference. And, as much as I dislike a guy like Andrew Tate, he said this about both Muslims and Christian. And that's the reason why he's not a fan of Christianity, because we're weak. Yet he looks at Muslim guys. They're not going to allow you to speak against their prophets. And you know what the funniest fucking thing is about Muslims is, do you know that they will defend a guy like Jesus Christ? The difference between the Quran and the Bible, they believe that Jesus Christ was a prophet. They just don't believe that he was the son of God. That's the difference between both. But go disrespect Jesus Christ in front of a Muslim. See what happens to you. That's the thing, right? They stand up for what they believe in. Agree with them or not. That's fine. But they will stand up for their belief. And this is what Christians need to do, because even the woke, even if I disagree with them, even if I think that the woke mind virus is a real thing and they need to get their heads checked, they still stand up for what they believe in, no matter if I agree with them or not. This is the problem. Christians don't anymore. We don't even know. The average Christian has no identity anymore. You were talking about identity and how important it is for those movements. Christians don't have an identity anymore. They don't even fucking read. They don't even understand their fucking Bible. They all have one. I guarantee you.
Of course, they don't have an identity. Who persecuted Martin Luther King? It was white Christians. Was it Malcolm X? Malcolm X didn't have a problem with it. In fact, Malcolm X was the person that made everybody appreciate Martin Luther King. And that's what's happening in our society now. Sometimes you have to go so far where even the left is like, all right, we had fun with this shit. It's time to come home. For example, he marched peacefully and got his head beat and got arrested. And I'm sure a lot of people died in the middle of it. Malcolm X came along and said, you know what? You shoot at me, I got a gun too. I'm going to shoot back at you. And what those same people said was, why can't you be more like Martin Luther King? And sometimes we have to fall off the cliff, which is what Rob was talking about, like Christians praying on being persecuted. Make that public. Let people know that, hey, wokeism was there to protect the people that couldn't protect themselves. But how far do we go? Right? Mm-hmm. Like transgender, I don't mean to veer off the whatever, but transgender people, men playing in women's sports. You could call them woke Democrats all you want. Those people have kids. Those people have little girls that play sports. And 2/3 of that population is saying, all right, it's time to come. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's time to come back home. And Rob, that's such a very good point, because everything that's happening, like you said, is historically accurate. And this needs to be noted for the record to say, hey, we did this with good intentions, but the road to hell sometimes is paved with, as you know in your Bible, the road to hell is sometimes paved with good intentions. And the question is, what point in history, from present to the future, do we say to everybody, hey guys, it's time to come home, chill the fuck out?
Yeah, that's a good point. I agree completely.
Even better point by Nico.
But you use a great analogy, like a great example, because Malcolm X was a Muslim. And then you look at Martin Luther King, that was a Christian. And you know why I like both of those guys. I might not agree with a lot of things that Malcolm X said, because he saw his views from a Muslim standpoint. But at the same time, it shows you the difference between Christians and Muslims. Christians have been taught to turn the other cheek, because this is what Jesus wanted us to do. To love your enemies as much as you do yourself. Love your neighbor as much as you do yourself. This is the difference. Is people, Christian as a whole, have an understanding, or a misconception, should I say, that you're supposed to just accept it and don't do anything about it. Then you look at a guy like Malcolm X, which on that specific example, I would agree with more. Fuck with me. See what happens to you.
Yes, fuck around and find out. Yeah.
But there's nowhere in the Bible that says that you can't defend yourself. You know what I'm saying? Is just
Malcolm X called it intelligence. He didn't call it self-defense. He called it intelligence.
And that's something that I would agree on 100%. So if your values are threatened, if people are prosecuting you, there's nothing in the Bible that says you can't stand up for your rights.
But the reason why you like both of them, and Rob, I need to give you time to talk here, but the reason why you like both of them is because at the end of the day, they both came from a place of peace, right? When one peaceful person is provoked, turn the other cheek. When the other peaceful person is provoked, I'm gonna smack you back, right? But you respect the both of them, because his trip to Mecca changed his life forever. Because he saw white Muslims there, he saw brown Muslims, he saw Asian Muslims, and just a whole bunch of men. And this is where Nico can take over. Just a bunch of men appreciating how they're supposed to behave in the world as responsible men, and what a man's duty is supposed to be, right? But this came from a place of protection, but also from a place of peace, which demonstrates the Muslim religion, just like Christianity, gets a bad rep sometimes, man.
I think, yeah, it's sometimes it's hard to compare the two. I mean, obviously Christianity's been around a lot longer, but I just think the culture of Christianity is just fundamentally different from the culture of the Muslim world. Like you said, there's if you went to Mecca, there's Muslim, like Indonesia, Asian people, ethnically Asian, are going to be Muslims, and they would consider themselves brothers with Arabs or black Muslims or whatever. Whereas I don't like, it's generally the Islam or the Muslim identity seems to be, if you are Muslim, at the center of your own personal identity. And I mean, like, I know, like Nico, obviously his Christianity is very much at the center of his personal identity. I don't really see that a lot in the Christian world. I think most people are like, my mom, who is a Christian, believes in God. That's about it. She goes to church once in a while. Doesn't talk about it much.
But were you aware that Christians and Muslims are very much alike in the past in terms of
very much? Yeah, they're all people.
Women were not allowed to be ministers. Women were not allowed to wear pants in church. If you can find the right doctrine about what a woman's place is supposed to be in the household, and ask yourself how the fuck is that different from Islam?
I think a lot of the issues where you see people from, Muslim cultures, like say Afghanistan or something, and there's like extreme misogyny, like women are not allowed to laugh in public now in Afghanistan. That's been outlawed. They're not allowed to go to school. I think that probably has less to do with Islam and more to do with just the culture, the local culture.
It's called dogma.
Or more to do with picking verses out of the Quran that you get to pick and choose to beat folk up with. Right,
which is essentially
about Leviticus and the Old Testament, or what you're not allowed to do.
Which is essentially my biggest critique of religion. I think religion, I believe it probably came about organically as a way for early humans to explain the world that we needed to have answers, and then very quickly, almost immediately, people in power were like, "Ooh, this is a very useful tool to control and oppress people." And my personal view of when I study the history of humans is that even though I think religion, if used correctly, can be a very positive and powerful force.
Like
I think
Nico?
it has been used or abused, I guess you could say, time and time again by people in power as a tool to oppress mass numbers.
Yep.
But and they do that by, as you said, picking and choosing the parts that you like, and then because if you do that, you can tailor to any message, right? You can tailor to anything that you want.
And Nico, I think, is a shining example. And this is where I'm going to continuously compliment you. Nico has a metaphoric light that shines behind him. Then when he's talking and when he has something to say, we, for some reason, all of a sudden kind of like, it's hard for me to do because I like this talk, but they're like, shut up and listen. Then the importance of his message generates from that, from this this place that's less than a god but more than a man.
Man, I don't like to talk about this, but everything that I do today is because God told me to do it, not because I want to do it. I don't want to do this.
But
I had a very easy job making a shit ton of money prior to this shit.
Yeah.
I don't want to be doing this. And I've had that conversation with pastors and they're like, ha, ha, ha. That's exactly why you're doing it, idiot. That's exactly why God told you to do it, because you don't want to do it. I don't want to. It's fucking hard. It fucking sucks. But you know what? It is what it is. That's my role to play. But I just, I appreciate your compliments. Don't think that I'm not appreciative of what you're saying. It's not what I want. At the end of the day, it's not.
Right.
Doing what I'm doing here, I'm good at it. I enjoy doing it. I'm good at it. But man, my life was so much easier when I didn't create content, when I didn't have to see all the all the hate that I get every day, bro. Like,
how far get my mouth shut in the world.
The podcast yesterday that we recorded with Maxime Bernier was the first time in I would say recent memory, at least a year, since I posted something that I did not get a shit ton of hate for. Yesterday I was going through the comments, and I don't know if you saw, Rob, but I was answering everything.
Yeah. The comments
I was just
blew up, dude.
No, but they were good comments. This is the thing that I'm not used to. I'm used to having a lot of hate on anything that I talk about. It doesn't matter what I say, I'm gonna get hate because I stand up for what I believe in. I'm not gonna stop saying what I'm not worried about what people are gonna say. But at the end of the day, I'm still human, right? So I'm looking at the comments yesterday, and I texted Rob, and I'm like, fuck. It's always good to get confirmation of something. Like, I knew this is good. What we're doing, this is going to sound cocky as hell, but I've been doing this for 4 years. I know that the recipe we have here on this podcast is needed. People need people like us for them to not feel that they're alone. We are political orphans, and I don't care which spectrum of the center you are, on the left, on the right. You don't feel needed. You don't feel needed. You don't feel you have a home anymore. So I know that what we're doing is the right thing to do. But at the same time, bro, it was messed up to see those messages yesterday. And I'm like, I'm just expecting, I'm scrolling, and I'm like, okay, where's the hate gonna come from? And like, I can't find any.
You were like, you're
right.
So
he was like, hit me with your best shot.
No, but I'm just used to it. It's not something that I like. I don't enjoy it by any stretch of the imagination. But at the end of the day, I'm still a realist, right? I'm an optimist realist, if you will. So I appreciate.
You have strong opinions on politics. That's always going to generate a lot of negative.
I have strong opinions on everything. Like, I probably have a strong opinion about the fucking TV that you have behind you. If we get deep enough into it, I probably have something bad or good to say about it. So
now you hate TVs, huh?
Hate them all.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
But I think, Rob. No, Nico, please finish.
No. All I was going to say is that I didn't expect the conversation to degenerate into religion, and I apologize for the people that are out there that are listening to this. This is not something. This is something, at least on my side, I try to avoid. You can ask Rob. I think this is our 18th episode in the past 3 weeks that we're recording. In the past month, actually, that we're recording. And I've never really. I'll say that I'm a Christian.
No, yeah,
but
that's right. That's right.
I try to keep.
You've talked a lot about more off air.
Yes, I just don't want to preach. I'm not. So don't think that if you're joining us for the first time today, don't think that this is what we normally talk about. We don't. This is not a subject I like to approach here because this is divisive, and that goes against the point of this fucking podcast. Is
That's right.
to find similarities between the left and the right.
But at the same time, but at the same
I
time,
was going to say, but at the same time, if you wonder why I stand up for what I believe in and why my morals are so strong, it's because of the book that's right there. That's because of my Bible that I read every day. So if you ever wonder, I have moral values because I try to be like Christ. I won't lie about it, but don't think that I'm going to push that on you because, man, this is not the point of this podcast. Just going to finish this.
And you read your treasure map the best way you know how, right?
It's not dogma.
Some parts are missing, right? Some parts are missing. Some parts are written over. You read your treasure map that makes you the best person you know how to be, right? And Nico, the only reason why this came up is because we were talking about free speech, and and freedom of speech is also freedom of religion, and right. And we were citing examples of people who were just exercising their right as Christianity, who were protesting peacefully, not even protesting, just praying peacefully. That someone could actually prosecute someone and make someone serve jail time, or find someone just for objecting to something in the most peaceful way we know how, right? And if Islam's supposed to be a religion of peace too, they should understand more than anybody else why this man should not be prosecuted. In fact, Muslims should be in court fighting for that dude. That dude didn't do anything wrong. And that's where the whole Christian virtue came up in the first place. We had conversations about the basic fundamentals, right? Don't cheat on your wife. Don't steal shit. Don't kill. Take one day of the week and do nothing. I'm good at doing nothing. Rob's good at doing nothing, right? So so we get that, and you, like you said, it wasn't the crux of our conversation, but sometimes, if we pray for rain, we got to deal with the mud.
Yep, that's right.
I've seen videos in countries where Christians are prosecuted. You had Muslims guys protecting them. You had a circle of Muslim people protecting the Christian as they were praying. I've seen vice versa. So, as much as I don't like the dog, they respected each other even if they don't agree. It's
like 100 years where Jews and Muslims live together in peace. So same food, So
it's just, as much as I can see how religion is dogma, how religion can be a cult no matter what it is. This is where we need to be careful, because the woke mind virus is also a cult. It's also their religion. So, no matter how you see it, when you cross that border of dogma, when you're not allowed to question the narrative, is where it's problematic. And as much as I'm a Christian that reads his Bible every day, I still question every fucking thing that I read. It's not because it says it in there that I'm like, oh, this has to be 100% true and can never be questioned. Are you fucking kidding me?
No.
This was still, at the end of the day, this was still written by men.
But what you guys got going on right here in this podcast is you're not, and I'm reiterating what you're saying, you're not pretending that you have all the answers. I think what you guys are doing is asking the question, right? And then re-asking the question and re-asking the question, optimistic and not hopeful that you and the audience can answer these questions together. And that's what makes the podcast callable. That's why the podcast has legs. And it is my honor and duty and privilege to be on this podcast and fuck up as many Wednesdays as I can. The comment section's like, we don't want that guy no more. You had real politicians, man. You can't have Jason fucking up this podcast, right? Like Chris Rock once said, in order for Obama to be president, Flavor Flav must die. You have a black man ready to be president. We don't need no motherfucker with a clock around his neck. Yeah, boy. Right? So listen, in order for you guys to succeed, at some point, Jason must go. But I'm enjoying the time I'm spending with you.
Nah, brother. You're part of the show at this point.
I agree.
I love you guys.
No, I agree, man. No, I
completely agree. We always never know where they're gonna go.
Yeah. Why does Nico hate viruses?
Yeah. But no, man, listen, bro, we've known each other for a little while, and I really enjoy you being here on Wednesdays. So it's the invitation will always be open to you, no matter how big this thing gets, right? So that to me is a no-brainer at all. But having those conversations to me,
for a minute, you know.
I just, maybe we should start doing this on Wednesdays instead of trying to plan it with an agenda like we do every day, just to have it a bit more freestyle and just see where it goes, because I'm
It
okay
seems to
with
go that
I
way
don't-
anyways.
How about a radar, like a Rob's radar, right? Rob, you have like a little 3-minute introduction on something you want to talk about, and we tear it apart. Nico,
I like it.
Nico's notes or some shit. I don't know.
It's just that I put so much fucking preparation in those. If we're gonna destroy it and not go buy it, we might as well embrace that from the fucking get-go and allow me to not have to do 2-3 hours of research per episode, right? So
Nico,
if-
I'd also at some point would like to have a UFC watch party with you. So when the
anytime,
pay-per-view
man.
comes on, you, me, I have a guy named Timmy B, who's an MMA commentator and big media guy, and that feels also Canadian.
I used to do it, by the way.
Hmm?
I used to do it for amateur organization. I've done multiple streams online for promotions. I've been the guy that was in the cage asking questions to the fighters with a microphone on that Joe Rogan. This is one of my dreams. This is one of the things that eventually I want to start
You're
doing.
like a
So yeah,
handsome
100%.
Bass Rutten, man. You're like this really good Bass Rutten guy.
But I've been doing martial arts for 20 years too, so I can break down fighting on the ground, wrestling, and Muay Thai too, right? And I spend my days in front of a camera, and I fucking love this shit. I love martial art, bro. If you like the way Joe Rogan goes crazy on fights,
I
that's
like
me
those.
watching a fight.
Like, "Ah!"
I watch fight by myself, and I'm like, oh, yes, yeah.
So
So-
funny.
Dude, when Connor broke his ankle, I did a watch party, and I had this. Someone froze my face, like I just. Oh God! Do you remember when he broke
Broke his
his
shin
shin?
bone.
Yeah,
Shin
like
bone.
Anderson
Yep.
Silva did a
Yep.
while back. Anyway, yeah. What else we got? Free speech is
I think we
you
should
knew that
stop
would
it
be an
right
extra
there, man.
hour. You knew free speech
Yeah.
would be a
Yeah.
longer.
Well, yeah. Nico was saying that before.
But thank
But
you,
I think-
Elon Musk. Look, Elon Musk, you can censor whoever you want who's trying to dox you or trying to talk shit about you, as long as you keep the government from telling social media owners to telling them how they should do their thing, which, by the way, is an end around to the First Amendment. As long as you keep them out of our business, consistent with what Nico said, it's a private company. It was a private company when before he got there, right? That was their fucking excuse, the woke people, as you call them. That was their it's a private company. They get to do whatever they want. But he can't? No, go fuck yourself. And keep the government out of our shit.
Yet, if
I'm
you
a
look
rep.
at,
Keep the government
but look at studies, they show that unlike any other social media platform, X is literally 50-50. 50% lefties, 50% Republican. It's fucking funny. They were showing it and they're like, don't like Elon Trump. I was going to say fucking, they're so connected now that Elon Trump, but
Oh, Democrat.
they were
I know that. He's still a registered independent. Sorry, left-leaning independent.
but it's just interesting to see that as much hate as the left is giving him, they still go on his platform because they know they can say whatever the fuck they want.
yeah.
And the research shows that it's pretty much 50-50. Like
Yep.
you look at the content there, you'll find left stuff, you'll find right stuff.
Because all we do is win. Look,
Yeah.
we're going to win so much, people are going to get tired of it. I mean, even my ear won. My ear is fully healed. Listen, Democrats, we got RFK, we got Elon, and we got Tulsa. They all voted for Biden. Now they voted for me. You guys got the Cheneys.
It's actually pretty
You
good, man.
losers.
Yeah.
Put a big L above your head. You wound up with the Cheneys. I got the 3 best Democrats ever.
The only thing I'm gonna say, Jason, as
Think about the trade-off.
yeah, but as a
They got-
half black guy, that's culture appropriation. That's racist and it's culture appropriation.
Well, I'm
You
a
can't
racist.
can't-
I'm a well-known racist.
you're not allowed to imitate Trump. You can't do
I'm
that as a
bigot
half
against
black guy.
clowns. I fear I
Can't
hate
do it.
I fear midgets. I don't know if that's the term. We got to clean that up or edit that out.
No, they're
have a fear.
midgets. They're
Okay,
midgets.
tiny people. Well, I cured that.
Yeah.
I cured that though. I'm not scared of them anymore. And the way I did is I slept.
Were you actually?
I slept with one. Yeah, I actually. Girls sitting on the bar, right? When they're
Yeah.
sitting at the bar, they look the same size as everybody else.
Yeah,
So
yeah, of course.
hanging out with one in a romantic way, and And a day later, I'm like, I'm not scared of whatever we call them anymore. I'm still scared of clowns.
I cured you. I
Yeah, the
cured
best
you.
way to cure your fear of midgets is to
Yeah.
fuck one.
Oh, shit.
But no,
It's
clowns.
totally appropriate.
Clowns and mimes are still, I
Oh,
will.
yeah, yeah. Everybody
I
hates
will
clowns.
2-piece you. Do not follow me. I will give you a 3-piece and a soda. 1, 2, 3.
Don't be too worried. The way you punch, you're gonna break your little wrists.
I know.
So don't be too worried. So follow Jason in a clown suit. Consequences are not that brutal, so it's all good.
Yeah, man. Please. Yeah, let me show you guys my honorable discharge.
Um,
Let's do that. I can do that.
All right, gentlemen. Oh, nice.
There it is. Look at all those medals. I'm a better shot than Oswald. Inside joke. We get that joke.
yeah, that doesn't say much.
No, it doesn't. No, it
For the
doesn't.
CIA for the CIA to have to finish the job, it says a lot about how
Please
good he was as a marksman.
save whatever you guys do the next 7 days. Save some time for me to talk about JFK.
Yep.
And the difference between a marksman and an expert and military records and this and that. I can give some people some insight on qualifications for your weapons. And
Why?
all that.
What was Oswald?
Oswald, CBS called him an expert marksman, which raised eyebrows because marksman is the worst you can be. You barely qualified. Sharpshooter is you did better.
Okay.
An expert means you only probably missed 40 targets 3 times. And I mean 300-meter targets, right? So Oswald was a marksman 4 times and a sharpshooter twice, never an expert. So when CBS said he was an expert marksman, to the civilian population, it makes him seem like the best of the best. But when a military person hears expert marksman, it's an oxymoron.
It's like being the smartest retard.
In special ed. Yeah, in special ed.
You're just the smartest retard. It's awesome.
But they're opposite meanings. Marksman's the worst and expert's the best. And again, you already saw my medal. I shot 40 out of 40 my last 4 times and 39 out of whatever. And the one I missed was 50 meters. The 50-meter left, the one that was up first. I missed that like an idiot. But I'd like, if you guys want to save some of that, you don't have to wait for me, but save some of that. And I could give some people some insight on like his military scores and why they don't make sense.
I'm sure we could talk about that.
Yeah.
The only thing I can say is that unlike anybody else outside of the movie Wanted, he was able to curve bullets.
The magic bullet.
He went, and the bullet
That's
went.
it. He was able to hit JFK multiple times with the same bullet.
Yeah, or
Bravo.
Magneto, or Magneto was responsible.
Bravo. Yep.
How about Magneto
Bravo.
from X-Men? That makes more sense. He's responsible for the JK. The guy who can manipulate metal and Earth's magnetic.
Yeah.
He can do a magic bullet.
Guys, let's stop it right there.
Yeah,
let's call it a day.
Take us
Thank
home.
you, Jason, for being
Is your
here.
wife telling you to get off the stream?
Oh no, it's just that at this point, I think 2 hours is good enough because we can go with this shit for hours. We've
Forever.
been going
We'd be
for
here
2
forever.
hours and 10 minutes. So let's call it a day. Let's thank Jason for being here. It's always a fucking pleasure to have you on. Thank all the people that have been watching. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here. We appreciate every single one of you. And if you like this, make sure to follow us on X and on YouTube at the Poly Orphans. If you like Rob, make sure to follow him on X at Rob_the_builder. If you like my French accent, you can follow me at real Nico Lagan on every single platform out there. And if you want to hear more about what Jason does, you can follow him at NYvarsity Sports on YouTube. And we will see you tomorrow.
Stay vigilant, people.
Peace.